Science is often portrayed as the opposite of religion, devoid of wonder and purpose, the absence of belief. But science does have wonder and purpose and belief. Consider these words by science fiction writer Isaac Asimov. Someone asked him, "Don't you believe in flying saucers?" they asked me. "Don't you believe in telepathy, in ancient astronauts, the Bermuda Triangle, in life after death?" "No," I reply. "No, no, 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 and again no." One person, recently goaded into desperation by the litany of unrelieved negation, burst out, "Don't you believe in anything?" "Yes," I said. "I believe in evidence. I believe in observation, measurement, and reasoning, confirmed by independent observers. I'll believe anything, no matter how wild and ridiculous, if there's evidence for it. The wilder and more ridiculous something is, however, the firmer and more solid the evidence will have to be." Evidence is what saves us from the unsubstantiated claims of others. And it saves us from deluding ourselves. Politicians and theologians want us to accept authority, preferably theirs. Evidence questions authority. Evidence questions our own authority. It humbles us naturally, not by brute force. Unlike politicians and theologians, it does not threaten us with violence. It merely reminds us that we do not know everything, and it encourages us to learn more. Albert Einstein wrote the following: "All religions, arts, and sciences are branches of the same tree. All these aspirations are directed towards ennobling human life, lifting it from the sphere of mere physical existence and leading the individual towards feeling. It is no mere chance that our older universities developed from clerical schools. Both churches and universities, insofar as they live up to their true function, serve the ennoblement of the individual. They seek to fulfill this great task by spreading moral and cultural understanding, renouncing the use of brute force." And Maria Montessori, the child educator, wrote, "What is a scientist? We give the name scientist to the type of man who has felt experiments to be a means of guiding him in the search of a deep truth of life, to lift the veil from its fascinating secrets, and who, in this pursuit, has felt arising within him a love for the mysteries of nature, so passionate as to annihilate the thought of himself." So there's the words of Jesus: "Lose yourself to save yourself." The words of Buddhist selfless compassion. Both these quotes indicate that there is something deeply spiritual about science. It has a purpose that calls us beyond the limit of ourselves, and it saves us from the tyranny of certainty. Some theists argue that without God there is no certainty, no standard of right and wrong. They may claim the authority of a Torah, Gospel, or Quran and try to impose that in others. And without sufficient evidence, many religious people ultimately resort to fear, coercion, and force. religious people who resort to force and threats are a counter-evidence for God. But I have also observed people who are good and moral, who attribute their goodness to God. I cannot observe their inner life, and I cannot observe the God they profess to believe in. But their outer life is enough evidence for me to consider the hypothesis of God. But that's based on evidence. But the belief must be tested throughout one's lifetime, or else it becomes inert, a mere supposition. All living things change. If God is unchanging, then God is dead. A life of faith is not certainty of belief. It is testing and retesting one's subjective ideas of God. That testing is the spirit of science. It is the quest that leads us forward. It is not a-religious, but religious in a deeper sense. It is not conformity to someone's idea of the truth, but a search for truth. Any theologian who thinks will state that God is beyond words, beyond description, beyond understanding. In short, a mystery. And those theologians who refuse to think, when confronted with the contradictions of Scripture and doctrine, resort to the catchphrase, "It's a mystery." What is science but the pure exploration of the mystery? By testing the mystery, we learn more and become more. Science is much more than a body of knowledge, said Carl Sagan. It is a way of thinking. This is central to its success. Science invites us to let the facts in, even when they don't conform to our preconceptions. It counsels us to carry alternative hypotheses in our head and see which ones best match the facts. It urges us on a fine balance between no-holds-barred openness to new ideas, however heretical, and the most rigorous skeptical scrutiny of everything. New ideas and established wisdom. We need wide appreciation of this kind of thinking. It works. It's an essential tool for democracy in an age of change. Our task is not just to train more scientists, but also to deepen the public understanding of science. Sagan was further quoted in U.S. News and World Report. The idea that God is an oversized white male with a flowing beard who sits in the sky and tallies the fall of every sparrow is ludicrous. But if by God one means the set of physical laws that govern the universe, then clearly there is such a God. This God is emotionally unsatisfying. It does not make sense to pray to the law of gravity. I agree with Sagan that it may not make sense to pray to the law of gravity, but there is at least evidence that gravity exists. No one tries to convert anyone to believe in the law of gravity. Those who do not believe will fall. There's no need to punish those who do not believe in gravity. They will learn or die. Those who believe in God should never resort to violence. Because violence indicates that they really do not believe in God. For if God were truly in control, would God need any allies to kill for him? To punish people here on earth? Because they do not see evidence of God punishing their enemies, they feel they need to do it themselves. Furthermore, a true believer would not need to pray, because if God is all-wise, who are we to change God's mind? Religious authority encourages one to submit to the will of God. This submission is a hard word, and it's enforced mightily. Now, in one sense, I submit to the law of gravity, but I don't feel like the law of gravity is watching over me, ready to smack me down. Instead, I learn to live in harmony with the law of gravity. I learn to understand the law of gravity and understand that there are other forces in the universe that can counteract the law of gravity and allow me to fly. Scientific authority urges us to live in harmony with the laws of nature. Submission leads to fear. Harmony leads to hope. Sagan further says, the size and age of the cosmos are beyond ordinary human understanding. Lost somewhere between the immensity and eternity is our tiny planetary home. In a cosmic perspective, most human concerns seem insignificant, even petty. And yet, our species is young and curious and brave and shows much promise. In the last few millennia, we have made the most astonishing and unexpected discoveries about the cosmos and our place within it. Explorations that are exhilarating to consider. They remind us that humans have evolved to wonder, that understanding is a joy, that knowledge is a prerequisite to survival. I believe our future depends powerfully on how well we understand this cosmos in which we float like a mote of dust in the morning sky. Religion is true inasmuch as it leads to growth through questioning. Thomas Jefferson believed in God. As a deist, he considered the laws of nature to be identical with the laws of God. But he was not blind in his faith. He wrote to his nephew, "Question with boldness even the existence of God, because if there be one, he must more approve of the homage of reason than that of blindfolded fear." To question is the quest of science. To question is the quest of honest spirituality. Once a religious person believes they know everything, they are condemned by the sin of self-righteousness and cease to be truly religious. Once a scientist thinks they know everything, they are condemned to ignorance of new discoveries, and they cease to be truly scientific. I leave you with this hopeful quote brought by Neil deGrasse Tyson. "Yes, the universe had a beginning, Yes, the universe continues to evolve. And yes, every one of our body's atoms is traceable to the Big Bang and to the thermonuclear furnace within high-mass stars. We are not simply in the universe, we are part of it. We are born from it. One might even say we have been empowered by the universe to figure itself out. And we have only just begun.